With Dunkin' Go-Tos, you can get a great deal on 2 of your favorites, like 2 egg and cheese wraps for $2, 2 bagels with cream cheese spread for $4, and 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants for $5. In my opinion, it's a deal that's pretty tough to beat. That's just if you want my go-to cents. If you don't want my go-to cents, it's go too late. Dunkin' Go-Tos. A great deal for $2, $4, or $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
My hip-hop will block the shot. My hip-hop block the shot. My hip-hop will block the shot. Block the shot.
He's here, now broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building. We've once again made contact with our leader, Ronnie Adams!
I mean, I've just been busy.
I steal more stuff from conservative radio for this podcast.
Well, someone's got to find a use for it.
Easy. There'll be no politics tonight. Hey guys, it's good to be back. I've been gone for a bit, and Mark recently said, "Hey Ronnie, would you like to do a podcast on toxic fandoms?" And I said, "Why, yes, Mark, I would." So here we are. It's been so long since I've done a podcast. I completely forgot how to talk, how to intro, how to do anything. So yeah, welcome to the Screaming Boy podcast, like the first one in
Up teen years.
16, 17 years. Has it been that long? It feels like it has.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or time.
I'll say
that
depends.
That slow when you're with Mark.
I'll say that depends. When did James Gunn get fired?
Ooh, wow.
Wow, things have changed.
Yeah, they really have. Now you just made me sad.
He got rehired. Marvel
Not
realized
about
they
him. Who
screwed.
cares? He's a millionaire. Who cares? He'll be fine. I'm talking about it's been that long since I've been around. But hey, guess what? We're all fans here of one thing or another, or multiple things. And we decided that we wanted to talk a little bit about those fans that tend to ruin everything for everyone ever. And that's the toxic fandom. We're not pointing out one general fandom. We're not pointing out Harry Potter or Doctor Who or Lord of the Rings or anything else. We're just talking about the people that just bring the worst out in everyone else, just because they're douchebags. So with that, I want to bring on our guest for the night. Well, you've already heard one, but you've heard several actually. First and foremost, my friend and yours, the disapproving dad, Jesse Starcher.
Wow, I am here to at least inform all of you why Back to the Future is the purest trilogy that is out there, and it is the best trilogy.
You're who we're talking about.
Wait for one of you guys to step in there.
I was waiting for you to finish talking
so
I wanted you to finish talking so I could yell, "Get him, Winfrey."
There we go. Good to be here. I'm glad to be back on a podcast with Ronnie Adams. I miss him.
I miss you guys. I'm getting a little teary-eyed. I'm not gonna lie. Next up, another voice that you hear is the lovely, the talented,
adjective.
I haven't done this in a while. Give me a break. Let's change it yourself. Jeez.
She didn't hear you. Try it again.
Try it again. Alexis,
Alexa,
right?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I heard I haven't done this in a while again, and then everyone started laughing, and that's all I heard.
Who the fuck are you?
I'm curious about our fan base now. I mean, is there...
Why was there ever a question about that, Jesse?
I've never really had one, so I'm okay.
From Honeysuckle Rose Creations, Alexis Hana. How you doing, Alexis?
Doing good. I'm just going to blame on any snafu on the fact that I'm still playing around with my new headset.
Terrific. Tag in, Ronnie.
I don't want to anymore. No wonder I quit.
This whole podcast is going to be introductions.
Yeah.
How are you doing, buddy?
Apparently slightly less traumatized than you on an average basis.
And that's saying something.
Mark?
Oh my god.
I didn't know we got Mark.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my god. All right, so Mark, tell me why. Oh gosh, back to normal. Okay. Mark, tell me why you wanted to do a podcast on this so much.
Look, there have been so many examples. And recently,
Buckle in, guys.
Just in the last few years of situations where, look, movies can be bad, and we can say they're bad, and we can say we're not going to watch them, except for Robert, because I make him watch them all. Isn't that true, Robert?
I need help. Someone, Mark is holding me hostage. If there are any law enforcement personnel listening.
Yeah, Robert, aren't you so glad that I skipped out on Men in Black this week?
So there are so many examples of situations where all anyone did was just make a bad movie. They didn't harm a child. They didn't kick a dog. They made a movie they thought was going to make money, and people acted as if they had done any one of those things I just mentioned. It's gotten ridiculous. In some cases, it's gotten, for me at least, and I don't know about everybody else here, but I know for me, sometimes it's not really enjoyable to be a fan of movies and television and music when you're surrounded. This is the sort of thing that got me out of talking about politics, if I can really, 50 words or less sidebar. I used to be really into doing podcasts and having discussions about what was going on in the world. I thought I had a voice, and it was a voice worth sharing. Don't laugh. And I really wanted to bring kind of like a neutral, both sides have something to offer presentation of what I was doing. I used to do a blog and then a podcast called Progressive Conservatism. Except that every time I engaged with somebody, it was the other side is wrong, the other side is horrible, and we should push them into Mount Doom. And I got sick of hearing it from both sides to the point that I became utterly disgusted with politics, and I don't like talking about it anymore with anybody except maybe a few of you folks, and only on election night, which we do cover, by the way, on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. So
only to have Mark tap out 20 minutes before any of the major networks will actually call the election, because
they should stop calling it at 3 o'clock in the morning when I got to be at work the next day.
And for 16, they were all a bunch. Nobody actually wanted to call it. They were a bunch of gutless cowards.
They were like, "Well, Trump's won all the states, but maybe
isn't Puerto Rico allowed to vote this year?"
No. In any case, so that's what
I know that.
You want to count for that, and I don't mean this disparagingly, because the people of Puerto Rico have suffered, and there was a massive government snafu about the actual recovery process from that was, again, a catastrophic failure. So when I say what I'm about to say, I don't mean it in the sense that you people don't matter, because you do. You are human beings. You matter to someone, I assume, somewhere, just like I assume I matter to someone somewhere, whatever.
No, Meg, you don't matter.
Thank you.
I was taking bets on which one of us was going to say that first.
I knew it was going to be Mark.
So bad for Robert.
No, that was always going to be Mark. That was never going to be anybody else. But Puerto Rico, Guam, was it American Samoa? There's one other one. Like, we have two of those are territories. One of them's a protectorate or a commonwealth. I think Puerto Rico's a commonwealth. Sorry, guys. You only and this kind of sucks. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it doesn't, but the District of Columbia doesn't have a senator, and their city budget has to come through the federal government, which is just a catastrophic nightmare from a city management perspective. But you don't live in a state, then the system is set up differently. You've been offered statehood. You want electoral votes and the say in the government. Become a state.
Look what you did, Ronnie. Now listen, it's because
I don't like this anymore.
It's because of the tenor of the conversation around a lot of the media that we love that I've gotten thoroughly disgusted time and time again. And I feel like, you know what, let's have a conversation about it. So that's what we're doing.
Okay. Well, I guess the big thing for me was what I was so interested in this about. Why I was so interested in this was we run into it a lot, especially on social media, and it's just like you said, nobody wants to debate or talk or reason anymore. They just want to be right. And it comes down to something as simple as just a freaking movie, and or music or even a podcast. I mean, it's getting ridiculous, and going a little deeper into it, there's just no compassion whatsoever in the world anymore. It feels like, it's one of those things that it weighs heavy on me because I've been going to a lot of cons and it's just you see it everywhere. I don't care where it is, but so Jesse, why are you so interested in this?
Oh boy, well, really, it's interesting to see the types of fandoms that are out there because I'm kind of a novice as to understanding what all this is about. I mean, I see it a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts who have a lot of strong opinions about certain things that happen in the movies, happen in comics. I have had guests on my show who have definitely strong opinions about what has happened in comics. But just watching and researching some of the stuff that has really gone into the books as some of the most toxic fandoms, I was really surprised at some of the I guess you would say celebrities that have a really toxic fan base, because it seems like that, number one, is where a lot of it is. If you are in the public eye and you have a creation that has a devoted fan base, sometimes it can be taken to extremes. And I want to hear what you guys have to say on it for sure, because to me, even though I see all this happen around me, I don't have that strong a feeling about some kind of a property or some type of franchise that I'm going to get with 9 or 10 of my friends and put a motion in to try and dox somebody. Or dox, I think is the term, to dox somebody, or to sign a petition to have have the incorrect streaming service remove a show.
That is just the worst part of culture right now is the petitioning. I don't know when it started. I don't know how it started, but it needs to stop. The petitioning of a thing you don't like incessantly has got to be like the worst thing in the world right now. Among the things that don't matter. Go ahead.
Especially those who petition and they don't even know which company they're supposed to be petitioning.
It's hilarious.
I mean, A, yes. B, to anyone who signs petitions for crap like that, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. That's exactly
if I might steal a line from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, it doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. Okay, obviously we're talking about Robert Pattinson, and then the Netflix people petitioning Netflix to get
Good Omens.
Good Omens.
It's an adaptation of a Neil Gaiman novel, which I believe is part of a series. Yeah, it's on Amazon, I think.
Yeah,
it's a book that was. Well, it was a book that was written by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, and it was Gaiman is honoring Pratchett's basically what he wanted before he passed to see this come to fruition. The fans who I know have been watching the show are saying it's brilliant and it's great. I honestly haven't. I haven't had a chance to see yet because I bought the book and I want to read through the book before I start the show. But what's hilarious is that there's this mega Christian group that's petitioning, and they sent a petition saying, Netflix, cancel this show. It's making Satanism look okay. Good Omens isn't on Netflix. It's on Amazon.
And that is a perfect example of a fan base that just is. I say a fan base.
I was going to say the fans of
They're
Christianity.
a fan of God. But
You know who I like in Hollywood? Jesus.
it's a great example of a collective group of people who are so focused on what they want done, have no clue as to how to go about getting it done. And that is, I want to say it's pretty sad. It's a horrible representation of humanity, number one, and how stupid people are.
It's an accurate representation of humanity and how stupid they are.
I will give you that. Yes, it is absolutely accurate.
It's a horrible representation of
it is
Christians.
Well, there's other things that they could. It is, but regardless, I've been learning a lot here tonight about what toxic fandom is. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. That seems to be one of the big fan bases that get the moniker of having a toxic fan base.
Hey, not for nothing, but I've been busting my ass for 5 years being a Star Wars. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not Christian Harlow.
Hey,
Never mind.
Wait a second.
Go ahead.
Wait just a minute. So, yeah, just learning what goes into it. It's something I think a lot of people need to understand, because you may actually be a part of a toxic fan base and not know about it. So I'm glad to be here tonight to at least talk about it with you guys, and I'm here to learn. So
it's not so much that the entire fan base or the subject of the fan base is toxic. It's those people that choose to exert their opinion, which it's not wrong to have opinions. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's not wrong to have an opinion, but to me, it's wrong to completely ostracize anybody else and immediately say they're wrong over something as silly as a movie, you know. And Alexis, have we shot it to you?
Not yet.
Okay, go for it.
Well, I am a Comic-Con vendor. I immerse myself in the fandoms on a regular basis. I like hearing what's popular, what people want. It gives me an idea of what to do with my business. I'm a jewelry maker. I make jewelry that capitalizes on fandom, so I want to know, hey, if it's this popular, maybe I should make something off of it. And I find myself immersed on an almost daily basis from just hatred and disgust from some truly horrible people. But unfortunately, through social media, they have found a way to become the loudest voice out there. And like you guys said, there is no one fandom that has all horrible fans. You know, we brought up Star Wars. There are so many wonderful Star Wars fans, and they're great people, and they're enjoyable, and we have a great time. But the loudest ones were the ones who convinced actress Kelly Marie Tran to quit Instagram because they were putting so much blame on her. Or, I actually looked this up. The petition to have Episode 8 removed from the canon closed over Christmas at 116,925 signatures. And for the record, the petition to have Robert Pattinson removed from Matt Reeves' new Batman movie is currently sitting at 753.
I want to know
just 753, 3 digits.
Oh, jeez. So has anything ever changed because of a petition?
Never
Well,
in the history of humanity has a petition actually mattered.
Gosh.
A petition I mean this in all seriousness. Like, I say this about, people. Let me be clear about something. People who go out and march and protest, and I know everyone here has done it at some point. I never have because I suck, but
My dad's big into that.
yeah, and look, the right to do so is fundamental. It is unbelievably important to the continued function of our republic. The moment any organization, well, any governmental organization, tries to crack down on that in anything even remotely approaching unreasonable, and there's a lot of ways to do it unreasonably, they should be opposed in the strongest possible language. But I don't think since 1979 has a protest ever actually affected much of anything. Now, that said, again, I will absolutely fight to defend the right of everyone to do it. But its efficacy is somewhat dubious in the contemporary, not just the contemporary climate, but just the way things are. But it's a bunch of people expressing a perspective, which is not nothing, and it should be, and attention should be paid, by and large, to any large group of people that are willing to put a bit of effort into something like that. But at the same time, an online petition, especially an online petition, it just means nothing. Yeah, you guys might remember this. Y'all remember, hey, we're coming for Coney?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how about that?
So real quick, I just want to play off of Robert's point. So my dad is big into the Eastern Hillsborough County Democrat Party, and he has gone to a lot of protests. When the Occupy thing was happening, I actually had to tell him, please do not bring my infant daughter with you if you happen to be watching her and are planning to go to an Occupy Tampa protest. If you happen to be arrested for standing in the wrong place at the wrong time, I really don't want to have to get my daughter from DCF. I'm just asking. Do what you want with your own time. And it was like the one thing I asked my parents not to do with my child. And he was like, well, I don't think I'll ever get arrested because when they say get out of the park, I go. But, I will honor your request as her father. The reason I bring this up, though, is we've had a lot of conversations about the amount of protests that he's gone to. He's done a lot of protesting for universal health care and a lot of the important Democrat causes. And I've said to him, like, don't you think your time could be better spent doing something else to perpetuate those causes? I mean, you guys are just standing around parks yelling and being generally obnoxious. Some of you are getting arrested, and you're not really vocalizing the argument that needs to be heard from the people that matter and make decisions.
Wait. Can I get in before they say raise awareness?
Go ahead.
That's usually the counter argument to that, is we're raising awareness.
Yep. That's what he told me. He was like, when I said there are better ways to get your point across and, and possibly make a move on some of these important causes and some of the stuff that he stands for, I agree with. And he was like, I think it's important to have our voices heard. And I'm like, that's the kind of thing a child says.
It is interesting that you do see the fans making their voices heard, and you do see sometimes it does affect. I would point to the most recent example, the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer. We did a reaction to that on this show, Plug.
It was about 3 minutes of you guys vomiting on camera because that was so awful.
Exactly.
That trailer was so bad.
Exactly. And the creators have said they're going back and they're redesigning Sonic. So,
I mean, I hope you all understand two things about that. One, yes, it looked terrible. I'm glad they're redesigning it. Two, you have now absolutely murdered any chance that movie has a financial viability.
Very true.
Oh my gosh.
Just shot it in the head in the middle of the street and then claimed it was suicide. Like, just no. You are the dictator at this point. He committed suicide by shooting himself in the back 47 times simultaneously from different angles.
He had it coming.
There will be a time, I very well foresee it, that we made this joke when I think we were talking about Captain Marvel being in Endgame, and the big old hubbub that went on with that. But there will be a time where I think some director decides we need 5 alternate endings to a movie in order to satisfy some fan base or some fan opinion. And I really honestly think that's not too far down the road.
Yeah, the Bandersnatch movie experience is coming to a theater near you.
It's happening. It's happening. It's going to happen. Get your phones ready. We're going to vote on how this ends.
Hey, maybe that's what we're going to get with the Avengers Endgame re-release.
Could be.
Come on, people. We're so close.
Dethrone Avatar.
Hey, maybe can I vote for Thanos to win again? Because that was great.
You alienated so many Avatar fans right there. You guys, unbelievable.
There are no. There are no. Hold on. Stop. 1 second. There are no fans of Avatar.
At least not ones that listen to us.
No, I don't think they exist at all, apart from James Cameron's 14th house, which is dedicated to memorabilia. Like, I genuinely do not know anyone who claims fandom over Avatar. A lot of people saw it. I saw it.
I liked it.
I mean, for what it is, sure. It's a relatively engaging spectacle that's terribly written and pretty terribly acted, quite frankly.
It's basically Dances with Wolves in space.
Ferg, no, it's Ferg. My favorite joke. It's Dances with the Wolves in space. No, it's Ferngully with aliens. No, it's Last Samurai on another planet. Oh shit, we're all right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
they are. You are all right when you say that, and
it's one of those things where, like, it's fine for us to have this opinion, but if somebody came on here and said, "No, I love that movie," I would absolutely. Well, one, I'd be like, "But why?" But that's their prerogative to enjoy that movie.
Yeah, the problems stem when it's, I like that movie, and you all should die if you don't agree with me.
Right. Or you should die because you like that movie.
Yeah.
Because I've ran into quite a few of those.
Yeah,
I tell you, there was nothing worse than being a big fan of movies and being someone who follows movie news during the summer of Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
Oh, Lord.
That was so bad. Not just the movie, which sucked, but, like, putting aside the quality of the film, what a catastrophic misread by everyone involved.
I believe the word you're looking for was shit show.
Clown face.
I thought the movie was average, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there were some things that I did kind of like about it, but there are things that I sat there going, okay, the things that I like about it are not things that need to be isolated to this movie alone. For example, I liked all the new gadgets they used to fight the ghosts. We're getting another Ghostbusters movie. I could see them implementing that newer technology into that movie. So,
look, I defended the movie on Damn You Hollywood.
Badly. Because there is no real defense of the movie.
There's no defense of you.
Also,
for the record, I think we do need to set a definition here on where a fandom becomes toxic. Because even now, we're making fun of certain movies and TV shows. We just made fun of Avatar. It's like, so where's the line? Where is it okay to say, oh my God, that movie sucked, and wow, you need to go into therapy?
I think I'll contribute this much. I think where your dislike of something is actively contributing to other people's enjoyment of it through your actions, your words, your social media contributions, and it's happening en masse. A lot of people are contributing to other people's misery surrounding their enjoyment of something. That's when it becomes toxic.
Well, I do have a couple words here that I found off a Real Rundown that are at least contribute to defining the ingredients of toxic fandom, according to this article. One of which is possessiveness.
Does the word entitled appear somewhere? Because that would be a big part of it.
Number 2, entitlement. So,
way to predict it, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a fan. I've said it over and over. I'm a fan of Back to the Future. But I am not somebody that's going to, hop up on that hill and die on a hill when somebody says that.
Somebody,
it's
I
not
did.
Yeah, sir, I did. I called you out on that, if I remember correctly. But that isn't something I was like going to go to war with Mark Radulich over. I was just going to say that man, Mark Radulich sucks, and I went on to do 9,000 podcasts. But it's something that I love, but I don't feel possessive of it. It's something that I just enjoy immensely. Is there, Ronnie? I'm going to throw it back to you, Ronnie, because you're the host here. Is there a fandom to you that really seems possessive and entitled that just, overall the other ones. What one
I will tell you the first one I ever had a problem with.
Okay.
And that was Doctor Who.
Okay.
Because no matter what the argument was, no matter what they were talking about, it was always the Doctor can do better. And I'm like, we were just talking about, we were talking about Superman, and why would the Doctor win over Superman? Well, But why did that even come up? I mean, we weren't talking about Doctor Who. It's. I mean, I'm not saying don't be passionate in what you love, but make it relevant, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't just bring it up because you're a fan. Bring it up because it matters.
Now that
in the conversation.
That rubbed you the wrong way enough to where when I brought it up, I think in one of our first interactions there about the subject, you were just like, you weren't a fan of actually discussing it because you were just like, Doctor Who, oh man.
Yeah.
So that's not helping somebody that it's not helping a fandom in any way by making less fans of said.
Right. Also, because I wasn't I'm not a big fan of it. I whatever. Hey, you should try watching this. Okay, I tried. I didn't like it. It's just like, I tried Brussels sprouts. I don't like them. My dad loves them. I get it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean I'm going to like them.
So I think the mistake that gets made is that we think this is a relatively recent phenomenon because of social media. So it's like, I think the mistake that's made is because of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, et al. And now there's this wide exposure to it. We think that this has only come about since the rise of social media because of the wide exposure. I will tell you, I think this has been around a lot longer than that. I don't know when the entitlement mentality became a thing and so pervasive in at least American culture. I'm not going to speak outside of America, but I can tell you that it's been around for at least as long as I've been out of high school, if not longer, because I remember there was a time
around about the time a gentleman named Gutenberg was experimenting with repeatable movable type.
Fair enough. I remember a time where people were fans of Metallica. This was back in the days of old, and
God help us, Saint Anger.
Before that, I remember a time where Metallica could do no wrong, and they peaked with "And Justice for All." Then the Black Album came out, and there were fans ready to burn down Lars Ulrich's house.
Well, let's talk about Load and Reload and how they sold out and cut their hair. It was a domino effect of all things that made Metallica more popular and made them more money than they ever had in their fucking lives. But the fans that were with them from Kill 'Em All to And Justice for All were like, nope, Metallica must die, and everyone who liked the Black Album should go with them. I mean, it was like the Black Album, Load Reload, going Lollapalooza, cutting their hair, and then it all kind of hit the shitter with Saint Anger. But for the longest time, I would go to a party and people would start a conversation with Metallica. He's like, "You like metal? Yeah, Metallica, Master of Puppets, or Black Album." But do I have to choose, sir? And it's such a setup because they're waiting for you to say the Black Album so they can call you a poser and a fag and everything else, and be like, why do I have to be put on the defensive about a fucking album that I think is okay, that I don't hate? But take that very same sentence and you can apply it to everything that we've talked about tonight so far.
Right, absolutely, because I don't need to validate my worth as a human being by liking something that you like.
Have you? You know what? Nope. I'll save it. Because I think there's a better the point I'm going to bring up is valid, but I think it dovetails into an entirely like quasi separate category of this that should be addressed more in full rather than as a subplot of what we're talking about here.
I think you're right. I do think that the elitist attitude does kind of factor into the toxic fandoms in general. The idea that we as fans are so dedicated that we know better. I feel that because I do feel like some of us who have really dove into these fandoms, I think one of the biggest problems with the fans is that so many fans, the toxic ones, look up and say, we know better than the ones that are creating right now. We know that this should never happen. Again, going back to Star Wars, I read that petition that closed. I read a lot of the responses and so many people screaming, okay, spoilers for Episode 8 for those who haven't seen it yet. Luke Skywalker dies at the end. And there were so many people screaming, Luke Skywalker deserves better. Oh, my God, how could you do that to him? Why would you write his character like that? Luke would never do something like that. And we're sitting there going, and I'm looking at this going, what makes you say that you know Luke Skywalker better than, George Lucas's team? Why are you suddenly the authority?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are entitled, and you believe that property is yours, and what you perceive as being an inaccurate representation of what your Luke Skywalker should be. Well, let's find. Mark mentioned it about social media. I think social media, man, I really think that poured gasoline on a fire, because now I can find
it
30 people.
Perpetuates it, sure.
Yeah, I can find 30 people that feel the same way that I do, and now we can get ourselves a petition going, or we can do this, or we can do that, because we have all this access to. When I was sitting here and I didn't have a computer, didn't have an internet, I wasn't. My wife probably would have told me to shut up, and that would have been the end of it. But if it wasn't for the internet and our opinions, I wouldn't be talking to any of you guys. And we share the same opinion on some things and share a different opinion on others. But imagine somebody with the passion for a property, and then being able to find all those people that much easier on Reddit or on a message board. I think it definitely adds to it becoming out of control.
Let's define two separate I guess definitions, like you said, a definition of a toxic fandom. To me, there are two separate. There is the one that they're whatever they're a fan of can do no wrong, and then there is the one of nothing can do any right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Nobody can do just like the original. And out of all the things that we talk about, Star Wars, I think the fans of Star Wars are most guilty of the second one. Nobody can beat the originals. Well, guess what?
They're not that good.
Okay, shut up.
Let me help you out here, Ronnie. I think the problem with Star Wars, and this is going to sound kind of funny, but this problem with Star Wars is how old it is. And it hasn't, it's been a consistent presence in culture. It kind of, ebbs and flows. The original trilogy had a sort of a massive following. It affected people. It affected the culture in a way that very few things have in the modern world. And it created a beloved fan base, a very rabid fan base. Yeah. But then it went away for a while, and there were some things associated with the franchise and are debatably not great.
Like building stuff?
Who's doing dishes?
I thought they were building a rumpus room or something.
from this room. So there were things like the droid cartoons and the Ewok cartoons and like the Ewok ABC shows. I believe they were on ABC.
The Star Wars Christmas special.
Ugh, yeah.
Well, that doesn't really exist, so we can't really,
they were
count that.
There were the original set of Marvel comics, then there were the Dark Horse comics, and there were the novelizations that started with the Thrawn trilogy. So, like I said, it was it had a presence, but for the longest time, Star Wars was kind of out of the public conscious because there were only the 3 movies, and the other things were coming along for people to get involved with. Then George Lucas, history's greatest monster. Makes the prequel trilogy, and the whole thing starts up again. And here is where, and this is what I wanted to draw attention to. Here is where you have a confrontation of 2 different fandoms, because he clearly made those movies to attract little kids to the franchise, which was largely successful. Mission accomplished. He did not write them at a very high level. For fans like me, I'm born in 1976. I grew up with them as a child. My dad saw them as an adult. So by the time the prequel trilogy comes along, now I'm this adult who's grown up with this my whole life, and then you have these people who are like in their middle age to start early grandparents age, who would want to relate to a Star Wars movie that was meant for them as an audience. And George Lucas purposely wrote and designed these movies to attract the kid audience, the same audience that he was more or less going for when I was a kid. Except that now I'm grown up. It's okay for everyone playing Radulich Broadcasting bingo. Here's the wrestling reference.
I was waiting for it because it fits so nicely with the. I mean this in all sincerity. It fits extremely well with the point you're making.
All the kids that grew up watching the Hulk Hogan rock and wrestling era started to fall out in the mid-'90s until the NWO starts. And suddenly wrestling has this edge to it. They start adopting, hip-hop's on fire. They start adopting that into wrestling. There's this whole, anti-hero era that comes out, and there's sex and violence, and wrestling becomes this whole other thing that attracts the kids that grew up with it that are now grown-ups. Well, George Lucas went the opposite way. George Lucas was like, I'm going to make a movie that's just for children. And there was a certain segment of the population that basically reacted to it. And I'm not going to lie, I was somewhat part of that. That was like, you didn't make the movie for me that I wanted. You're not trying to relate to me. You're not trying to bring me back. You're taking me for granted. There's a lot of me in that sentence, by the way. Yeah. Did you notice that? And then people got angry. They got angry that George Lucas didn't consider them personally when making his fucking movies that are his vision. You know what I mean? Like, here's this guy who's for all of his faults and his inability to direct a movie competently, is a really creative guy with this wild imagination, and he's trying to bring this out of himself and put it out for public consumption. And half of us react like, yeah, but what about me? What about Raven? Why aren't you considering what I like?
Wow.
I think there's actually something to build off of that I feel that some of the toxic fandoms going again to the Phantom Menace focus on the wrong things to be angry with. The actor who played Jar Jar Binks, I completely forget his name off the top of my head. He is actually put... I'm sorry?
Most have.
I got it, Ronnie. Go move on, Alexis.
Yeah.
So it's like I think I missed a reference there.
No, most people have forgotten his name.
Okay. He is actually looking to put together a one-man show about his experience. This was a man who was hired and came onto the set and did exactly what George Lucas told him to do. He did not come up with the character of Jar Jar Binks. He did not come up with that voice. He was told he did exactly as he was told. And the hate mail and the death threats that he got, he would genuinely consider committing suicide. The hatred for his character got so bad, but he's not responsible for that character. Why are we directing so much hatred to him? He is an actor who did exactly what he was told to do. We were just talking about Dark Phoenix. All of the actors in that movie are credible, good actors but none of them give a good performance. Is that their fault?
I haven't seen it.
A little bit.
That's debatable.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. In the case of that movie.
But again, I do feel that there's an issue that toxic fandoms do lead to us pointing the finger at the wrong group. Again, going back, God, wow, we're really not getting out of the Star Wars circle tonight.
Well, it's a prime example of what we're talking about, and because it's just one of those things where we live in a very selfish generation. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. It's me, and I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Unfortunately, you are correct.
I'm guilty of that as well. I have my thoughts and my ideals and my beliefs, and I'm not going to change them for anyone. But I also don't want. I'm people.
Uh-oh.
Ronnie muted himself again.
Okay, I'll pull us out of the Star Wars fandom. I can think of another fandom that has had a similar problem. And you guys were talking about which fandom. Oh, great, now I'm back on the echo.
Hold on.
It's just Ronnie sorting out a few technical things.
All right.
It happens.
Ronnie,
I just don't want to annoy our listeners.
All right, Ronnie. Before you went into the ether, you were trying to say something.
I'm not going to change my thoughts and ideas and whatever for anybody. But I'm also not going to make such a d-bag out of myself that I'm going to look at somebody and say, because you don't like a certain movie or music or comic book or because I feel that they didn't make it right, you're stupid because you don't believe that as well. I've unfortunately met a lot of people like that, and it's not cool because it's not cool. But it's just a childish way to think.
Okay. So, Alexis, I know you've been to the cons. You've experienced a lot of fandoms there. If I read you a list from top10s.com, you tell me if any of these stand out to you, okay?
Oh, look at Starcher bringing the list, boy. Boy, Starcher, you figured out your role on these podcasts.
All right. First off, somebody has to explain to me what the hell Weeboo is.
Oh, God.
Not
All
it.
right. No, I will jump on this grenade.
Is this a Pokemon? Because if it
No,
is, I'm...
it's not.
It's so adjacent, though, you almost get credit for being...
Mark, that quote, that's going on Pokemon. Somebody explain Weeboo. Is that a Pokemon? That is going on Facebook. Sweet Jesus, that is the funniest thing I've heard all night.
I don't know why it's funny because I don't know what it is either.
Please explain. Look, if the two mid-30-year-olds could explain it to the old fucking men on this podcast, that'd be great.
All right, a quote-unquote weeaboo, it's usually shorthanded into weeb, is a person usually of more, not just like Caucasian, but much more of the Anglo-Western. And this is not Caucasian so much as it is like geographic. It's a lot of the more Western individuals who profoundly and deeply identify with Eastern traditions, Eastern culture, specifically more Japan.
Oh, Iron
where
Fist.
I believe.
No.
So help me, Mark.
No, we're talking the adorable preteens at the Catholic private school who go to the anime conventions and know everything that's going on there and are dressed as the characters, are wearing kimonos, and talk about how great it is that they're going to the maid cafe.
I was just about to say, any 14-year-old girl that goes to any convention ever.
No. See, again, no. Weeb is very specifically localized around Japanese culture. God, how do I say this?
It's something to do with anime, you said, right?
No, it can, because anime, as most people define the term, this is so bizarre because anime isn't of itself not actually a Japanese word. It's their slang of the word animation from English because I don't think there was really a word in Japanese for animation, so they just kind of shorthanded our word for it. And now there's massive debates amongst people about what constitutes anime, and I'm not going to rehash any of them.
Please don't, because I will just hang up the podcast.
Okay, so the difference between anime and...
Well, what was number 2 on the list?
Oh, well, that was number 10. All right.
Okay, what's number 9?
Number 9, The Beliebers, as in Justin Bieber and his Beliebers. So I imagine you don't run into too many of those at cons, right?
Right now, the only joke with Justin Bieber is that post he made about challenging Tom Cruise to a fight, and Jared Padalecki saying he would take him on instead.
Oh.
And personally, I want to see the star of Supernatural beat the crap out of Justin Bieber. I would pay money for a pay-per-view of that.
Dana White can hear you, and he's working on it.
Number 8.
So.
This is not a joke. He said after that kind of gained a little bit of steam on social media, yeah, we'll host it. Like, dear God, no.
He's Dana White. He'll host anything.
I know he's a promoter. They're all soulless hacks. I get it. That doesn't mean I can't say this is a stupid idea. I said it about CM Punk. I'll say it about anything that I think is stupid.
It has led to a new thing online where where a celebrity will challenge someone who's 31 years older than them.
We live in a stupid culture.
We do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
I'm going to just skip to number 1 so we can move. I don't want to take over the show with all this, but number 1 was Bronies.
I know what that is.
God.
I know what that is.
Okay, I will once again jump on the grenade.
No. I got this.
Okay.
Because, guys, I am a fan of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. I was watching that before you called me for the podcast, okay?
You mean before the show jumped the shark a few years ago?
Too late. No, I am a fan of that show. I genuinely enjoy it. And there has been major there was major backlash. I like to think that the backlash has gotten old. And now I'd like to think that nowadays it's almost considered lame to make fun of bronies just because no one does it anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of out of.
There's a very specific. I think there's one thing you can thank for that kind of falling apart a little bit because it was. I don't think you're ever going to find a better lambasting of bronies than the one that Bob's Burgers did.
Well, I don't think you're ever going to find a better supporter of bronies than John Delancey. Fair enough. This guy, he's not only a prominent voice of one of the main not one of the main characters, but I would say one of the biggest reoccurring characters. He actually hosted a documentary about the brony fandom and about how so many male fans of the show were getting beat up and made fun of. And they found solace in the BronyCons. And John Delancey was a huge supporter of these kids who were joining together.
Which character is he?
Discord.
On Bob's Burgers?
No. He's
on My Little Pony. No, this is actually what's hilarious. Discord is the spirit of disharmony. He is a master manipulator. He can alter reality, and he does everything by snapping his finger.
He's the dragon thingy in the movie.
Yeah. When they created the character, Lauren Faust, the one who supervised the show, actually said, yeah, he's kind of like a Q-esque character. And then they got John Delancey, so there's actually a running joke that says Discord is just Q in another universe.
That's about right.
What character is he in Bob's Burgers, though?
He's not.
Oh, I got way confused then.
No, they were talking about the bronies getting made fun of on Bob's Burgers.
Oh, okay.
Which actually does end with a somewhat poignant, quasi-sweet point from whatever that kid is of his. I'm not a big fan of Bob's Burgers. I've seen a handful of episodes while suffering from insomnia and desperately trying to sleep, and that's one of the ones I've seen. But like his oldest daughter just gets taken advantage. She goes to a convention about their analog for My Little Pony, and instead of a bunch of kids, it's a bunch of 30-year-olds in pony suits.
Oh, I've seen that episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to add that as much as I love My Little Pony, I have never worn a pony suit. I just have a T-shirt with the cutie mark of my favorite character on it.
You know, I remember a time where if you wore a pony suit, it was because you were into a BDSM fetish. I miss those days. Look, here's the really nothing from anybody. All right, moving on.
No,
Look, none of us think you're wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you expect us to say to follow up with that?
Here.
Okay, no. All right. Hang on, no, I got one. I'll follow up for you, Mark. Are you talking furry fetish or latex fetish?
Latex. What the fuck? Anyway,
now
I
who
looked-
wants to move on?
I look down on furry. No, I'm just kidding.
I like it said, "Hey Ronnie, you want to do a show?" Yeah. This is not what I had in mind whatsoever.
All right. I'm about to make you a lot more uncomfortable, Ronnie. I think the undercurrent of a lot of the toxicity in fandoms, and here's the thing, it often gets spoken about by the most shrill and annoying people who, when they just, no matter, even if they're making a valid point, you don't want to listen to them because they just sound horrible, and that is the latent racism and sexism in our culture. For all the great strides we've made, for the fact that we elected twice a black president, for all of the wokeness, for all of the...
Okay,
all of that.
He said wokeness. He said it, Winfrey.
I said it.
Wokeness.
I'm gonna vomit.
For all of the stuff that permeates pop culture, towards progressivism and inclusiveness, there's still very much, at least in certain sections of the culture, very much a misogyny, very much a racism. And this permeates into, and this is what I think Alexis was starting to go at with what happened to both the Jar Jar Binks guy and Maria Tran, is that it starts with a little flame of, I didn't like your character and I thought your character ruined the movie that I own and it belongs to me alone. And then that catches fire by the votes going, and yet I hate fucking black people while we're at it. Only they don't say that. They say I hate Star Wars. They don't say I hate Asians and I wish they weren't in so much of our culture now. They say I hate that character or I hate Star Wars.
Mark, unfortunately, I feel that the wokeness actually goes in an opposite direction sometimes. I was doing a little I was trying to do some research. Who said that?
I did. Thank you.
I was doing research. I was looking up different toxic fandoms and what people had reported on in the news and such, because I really wanted to have some good notes for this podcast tonight. And I found a story, this was back in 2015, of a Tumblr artist, went by the name, I'm assuming it's pronounced Zamii, it's Zamii, who would draw their version of different animated characters. And okay, among the gentlemen I'm speaking with, who here has watched Steven Universe?
I have not. I know of it, but I do not know if watched anything of it.
What Jesse said.
I am aware of its existence. I have never seen an episode.
Okay, fair enough. There's a character on the show called Rose Quartz.
Is she the primary sidekick?
No.
Okay.
No, she's the main character's mother.
Okay. Oh, that's the one they're looking for. Right.
More or less. And she's this very, very large woman. I mean, there's no way around it. She is a big woman. And this
big black woman. Sorry, go ahead.
She's not black. She's white with pink curls.
It's a Sugar Ray song. Move on.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Oh, no. The fact that you referenced the Sugar Ray song deserves ugh.
Does that count
Perfect.
as Mark's? I'll say, does that count as Mark singing for the bingo game?
Yes.
No. There's a separate square for Mark referencing crappy, obscure songs.
Okay, so this Tumblr artist drew a picture of Rose Quartz, and in her drawing, she made Rose Quartz look predominantly thinner. I don't think this was a slam on weight or anything. I simply think this was the artist's interpretation. This artist was bullied so heavily for her decision to draw this character like this, she attempted suicide.
Jesus.
So again, I feel that the toxic fandom unfortunately does extend to the wokeness in the other direction, that now, yes, there are so many fans that scream, we don't want you because you're a woman. We don't want you because you're black. I mean, let's look at Anna Diop in Titans for that. Everyone's screaming, Tamaranians can't be black. And I remember going, no, Tamaranians can be black. I just don't want to see a Tamaranian with hooker boots.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't care if she's black. She just didn't
look like the character.
Yeah, no, I was saying my argument, I thought she looked okay. My argument was just costume designer needs to be fired. No, that was my argument. But again, we also have people who scream, you cannot be closed-minded, and if they think you have any bit of closed-mindedness, they will just go nuts on you.
Hang on, just as a brief aside, Zoe Saldana, black, also looked like Gamora. They could have tried a little harder with Starfire.
No disagreement.
Zoe Saldana is the only actress to be in 2 multi-billion movie franchises and not have her natural skin color.
Avatar and Avengers.
Yep, blue and green.
Mm-hmm.
We do love our primary colors, apparently.
Green's not a primary color.
It is from an illuminated source, not illuminated
Oh
source.
my god!
What the? What?
Okay, since you asked.
Fucking
okay,
I didn't mean to ask.
For those playing the Radulich and Broadcasting bingo, here's your Mr. Wizard moment. Go, Rob.
Fair enough. Okay, there are 2 different sets of 3 for primary colors. From an illuminated source, so your shirt, anything that is again like paint colors. It's red, yellow, and blue. Those are your primary colors. From an illuminated source, something giving off light. I might have that backwards, actually, in terms of illuminated versus illuminated. But like television, those of us who are old enough to remember when they had big screens, there were 3 colors in the back that got kind of bombarded. They were red, blue, and green.
Yeah.
When you are dealing with a source that is being illuminated by something else, it's red, yellow, and blue that make up all the others. When you're dealing with a luminous source, something giving off light, it's actually red, blue, and green that are the 3 primary colors.
You know
what do you think, Ronnie?
You know what I love about Robert Winfrey?
I graduated from art school, so I didn't have to put up with any more of this crap.
You know what I love about Robert Winfrey? He hates the Big Bang Theory, not particularly fond of the Sheldon character. That is an absolute Sheldon thing that he does, and he does it all the time. God bless you, Winfrey.
Sorry, Winfrey, Mark is right.
Look, I'm not under any illusions about this. I think a significant part of my utter disdain for Sheldon as a character is my deep-seated self-loathing.
All right.
I mean, you laugh, but I'm not joking.
All right, so we've got lists. We've got we've got the problem with toxic fandoms is everyone's a racist and a sexist. What else you got for us, Ronnie?
Okay, a little bit of a hot point on the sexism and racism there.
That's what I'm here for.
Coming from, I don't know if I should make that point.
If you need another point, I do have another subset of this that I think bears discussion. Because...
Go, Sheldon.
Okay, seriously, if you call me that, we're going to have a problem.
Can you at least hold off until we review Toy Story 4 before you kill him?
No. I'm going to wait for him to walk out of the theater so the last thing in his mind is that movie. And then I'm going to kill him. Look, we've approached this tonight largely from fandoms of various intellectual properties, fictional things, as such, which bears a lot of discussion because I think social media in particular, the advent of the internet has been, I think we can all agree, a definite mixed blessing. There's a lot of tremendous good that it's caused. It has also given a lot, and bad as well, like there's no going around that, but it's given a lot of people that struggled maybe to find people of like-minded interests the ability to find them relatively easily. If you go to a specific subreddit, I don't think you're going to wander into a subreddit for pick your anime property and stumble across too many people who aren't there intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a slightly if we want to get really old, where toxicity as far as fandoms comes from, I suppose we could argue the point about where nationalism falls into that, but that opens up too broad a historical context. But can we talk for just a minute or two about, and I know given how we've set this up, I'm about to lose half the audience, so both of you, I'm sorry.
I believe losing our audience is also on the bingo card.
True. It's the free square.
Yes, it is.
Wait, I thought the free square was Eddie barking, and I know you guys already heard that.
But can we just seriously talk for just a minute or two about unhealthy fandoms when it comes to sports and athletics?
There you go, Ronnie. I knew you were waiting for that.
Listen, I have heard so many people refer to their favorite team as "we." Man, we're going straight to the Super Bowl this year. We looked good last night, but I just don't understand why we couldn't pull the win out. We. When the heck did you strap on a helmet and a jersey and go out on the field? You know, it's one of those things where, like, you put yourself in this place, and I'm not saying I have my favorite team. I've been a 49ers team or a 49ers fan since God knows when.
You and everyone on my mother's side of the family, you poor people.
Well, yeah, they're terrible, but I still love them.
I get it.
Like children.
Yeah. Hey, supporting my favorite team cost me one of my followers on Facebook.
I remember that.
Yeah, apparently you're not supposed to mention that you like the Chiefs. I'm from Kansas City. I'm loyal to my hometown.
The doctor.
Because your support.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Mark. You have the floor, sir.
The doctor who delivered my children went to Penn State, so you know where this is headed. When the whole Joe Pa thing was happening, she was on Facebook and putting up like stickers on her car and everything about how blah 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 yakety schmackety, he's a good man, and I'm like, he is like an associate rapist. Come on, man. I understand he won, his coaching won football games for a college, but could we not conflate the two things? Could we keep them separate and judge them accordingly?
Because winning equals good.
Yeah, clearly.
No, I'm not kidding about that. People become so obsessed with the thought of. I guess where I'm going with this is that you cannot put yourself in such a position of being a fan of a certain team in sports that you have this fantasy world where you are a part of the team. And you get so worked up and so insulted if somebody likes another team or cheers against your team that you engage in violence against each other or cursing or all this other ridiculous childish behavior just because. Now I get into everything I do, sports, video games, whatever. I mean, it's fun to be a fan of something. But once you get into to it so deep that, once again, you reference to your team as we, it's not healthy.
Well, you just said right there why the problem is with so many geeky fans. We identify so much with these fandoms, it does become we.
Oh yeah.
Think about it. I can't speak for everyone in this group, but I know that so many people got into fandoms and nerddoms and didn't really have friends, didn't have a social life, didn't have a group they belonged to. The fandom, being a part of this group that loved this movie, comic book, TV show, whatever, made them feel like they belonged.
It's so funny. Jesse wanted to jump in here real quick. I just wanted to say this one thing. I'm going to toss it to you, Jesse. So get ready. Get your shit prepared.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But what a turn of events, because I remember, when you're not part of the popular crowd, because the things you like are seen as nerdy or seen as bizarre, and then you find like-minded people. It's the best feeling in the world. And what a horrible feeling to know that those people are now turning on you. And you and you're back to, look, we're all like approaching to firmly in middle age, and to have this feeling of all the things I love and the people I've met from them are now bad, or now worse, bad if not worse than what I went through as a kid. To the point where, you're back to you're back to having to enjoy things in quiet solitude, because you don't want to share them with people out there, lest they treat you inhumanely. Go ahead, Jesse.
I wanted to talk about my son and one of the experiences he had at school. He had a former friend of his who asked him about what team he liked, if he liked Ohio State or if he liked Michigan. Okay?
Oh.
Yeah. One of the biggest rivalries in college football. And now my son's probably watched maybe one pro game in his life, and I could tell you that he's probably never watched one single college game in his life.
Good. It's worse.
I said, so he said he's an Ohio State fan. Well, that was the wrong answer. And that apparently this kid would not let up on Caleb. I mean, just continued to give him shit all the time about being an Ohio State fan. And it's like, dude, you're in third grade. At what point does your life revolve giving somebody crap about a football team? You shouldn't even be worried about that. But then you got to, I start thinking, well, it isn't this kid. It's most likely his parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there is, I'm a huge Cleveland Browns fan. They're Winfrey,
You
please.
poor human
Son of a
being.
bitch.
I'm not even going to say any. I'm not even going to insult you. You self-flagellate so much on a regular basis with that fandom. You have my pity, sir.
So anyway, it's been rough. It's been rather rough. But Ronnie, you say talking about we this and we that. I might be in one of those groups. I might be one of those people that say, man, we have a great team this year. We are going to do our best because we haven't won a Super Bowl yet. Winfrey, we haven't won a Super Bowl.
I know.
But, yeah, I know you know. But yeah, I really do think sports and the fandom that comes from some of these teams. I remember seeing a report, and Mark, I swear you either shared it or somebody else did, but it talked about, being a huge sports fan or a huge fan of a team, that dynamic has really supported the bullying aspect that a lot of people are experiencing. And I thought, oh, come on now, that's bullcrap. And then I really got to thinking about it, and then this incident happened with my son. So I was like, okay.
So I'm in a theater with my wife, and we're watching Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez. Now, the theater that we saw it in happens to be in a part of the neighboring county that is very heavily Latino. And a lot of them came out to support Cain Velasquez. And then there's me and my pregnant wife rooting quietly for Brock Lesnar, who's about to breakdance and then get his ass beat, if you've ever seen that fight. Robert knows.
It was competitive for about 90 seconds. I swear, I rewatched that fight not all that long ago. You forget how that Brock was doing okay up until Kane clips him with that left and sends him spinning across the room in a manner that would make John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever a little bit jealous.
Yeah, that's where we got the breakdance and Brock meme. But look, there's a alternate universe where two white people and a group full of Mexicans could have equally enjoyed that fight. Some of us rooting for Brock, sad that he lost. Those rooting for Cain Velasquez, happy he won. And we all go home, with no problems. Not in the universe I was living in, though, where as Brock is picking up his bloodied carcass off the mat, my wife and I are trying to sneak out of the movie theater as people are going, kill Whitey. So, Yeah, that was a fun.
Where's that white dude at?
There was a few who addressed me directly, and I'm like, I'm not his mother. I don't have that much of a vested interest in this. I want to throw this out there, Ronnie, and then anything else left on the agenda, and maybe we'll take it home. But one of the reasons why this came up was because of what happened with Game of Thrones. And there's a legitimate argument to be made about the quality of the show taking kind of a nosedive at some point, and there's some stuff said about the production on it, the rush jobs. I think there's reports that they kind of rushed the end of Game of Thrones because they wanted to get to their next gig, which is Star Wars. There's stuff about they were only given outlines instead of an actual book to cover. I mean, there's a lot that goes into. There's a lot. Go ahead.
I agree with that second sentiment, by the way, that they're decent. These guys were pretty decent at actually adapting material from George R.R. Martin. But as soon as he kind of went, all right, here's a few ideas. I know how I'm ending my story. Don't do anything catastrophically different. Like, I don't think, I genuinely don't think the novel series is going to end with, Cersei winning, for example. I don't think we're going to get something wildly far removed from what took place in the television show, but I don't think it will not be identical. Or if it does, the context will be very, very different. But as soon as they had to do their own thing, their deep inadequacies as writers became very, very apparent.
So what I was getting to was, I'm not arguing with the people who didn't like Game of Thrones. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with the people who made the argument that they didn't feel that the ending was deserved based on the content that had been aired up to that point, that we needed another season or two to successfully get to. Like, the endings would have been fine had there been more content to make those endings earned. Fine, it's not an argument I completely agree with, but I at least see that's a valid point. What frustrated me and made me want to suggest this as a topic, because what happened there happened with The Last Jedi, and it's happened in all these other places that we were talking about before, kind of rounding back to the beginning of this discussion, is that, and I mentioned this before, I have had plenty of unsatisfying endings of television shows, and we can all name like 10, and they all start with Dexter.
Thank you. You took the word right out of my mouth.
Where it's just like, well, that was terrible. But then you kind of you mourn the loss of the show and its terrible ending, and then you move on to other things. And it's like, instead of sort of handling it like an adult, which is what I'm getting at, the adult way of handling Game of Thrones was, I'm not really satisfied with that ending. Wish it had ended better. I'm going to go do something else now. What a lot of people did, in fact, was say, that's not the ending I wanted. I'm unsatisfied. Do it again. Like...
Yeah, I'm going to look up the number for that petition for rewrite season 8.
So you have, do The Last Jedi again. I didn't like the way you portrayed Luke Skywalker. Do Game of Thrones over again. I don't like the way you handled Khaleesi, of which I named my daughter.
Oh, dear sweet God, guys.
Because I'm an idiot.
Guys, the season 8, the remake Game of Thrones season 8 with competent writers petition on change.org. 643,402. It's going up as I'm looking at it. I'm not kidding. It just jumped 10 while I was talking to you guys. It is still going.
None of those people should have the right to vote.
A lot of them come from. Hang on. A lot of them come from overseas. This is not like Game of Thrones is not a uniquely American property. That was a worldwide kind of thing. Second, 1.6 million signatures. Congratulations. You are, I believe, at that point, less than a tenth of the people who actually watched the finale. You don't matter at all. And let me be clear about this. And I get this crap. Not crap. I don't talk about a lot of my fandoms specifically because I don't want to get into crap like you deal with when you say, no, I like X. And then someone who maybe knows more or has a different perspective, and you wind up getting... So I don't talk a lot about my fandoms. I really don't. And there was something that I and I didn't get into this, in a virulent manner, but a Kickstarter project I didn't back because I don't have the money to back it. I don't think I would have anyway, for other reasons, that a lot of people celebrated and a lot of people criticized other entertainment avenues for not picking up this property. And I looked at it and I went, okay, and I said this publicly on a couple of different, internet forums and whatnot, and Facebook groups. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy to see this property succeed. I enjoy it. That's why I consume it. If I didn't, I wouldn't. But you generated however many millions of dollars via Kickstarter. Fair enough. It's a good thing. Happy for all parties. The number of backers was 50,000, I think, something along those lines. Not even, 6 digits. And I phrased it this way because I knew it would both irk people and actually get my point across. The actual number of backers for this property was significantly less than 50% of the people that were watching Firefly on a weekly basis, and look what happened to that show. And it's not that I'm not happy, but you have to understand the mechanisms in place. And there was a lot of, again, not straight up vitriol, but a lot of kind of discussion about, well, why wouldn't, a major television network, or why wouldn't Netflix, or why wouldn't Amazon, et cetera, et cetera? Because for one of those properties to invest even the same amount of money this Kickstarter generated, which is, I think, around about $10 million by the end of it. Say they invested that, and you get, 1.3 million viewers. That is nothing. 1.3 million viewers on Fox, ABC, NBC, even on something like, again, you might be able to get away with it a little bit more in streaming platforms because the economic model is different. But even then, that's a lot of money. And again, 1 million people watching something, if you're on even something like Cartoon Network, is really not a lot. There's a lot of people, especially when you get into fandoms, who think, but there's so many of us. And then you realize, I don't know why they don't realize this. There's really not. You're a niche audience. I'm part of it. We're niche. Congratulations. How many people watch the Super Bowl? And don't get me wrong, extreme end of the bell curve. But that's what everyone's shooting for. How many people watch Big Bang Theory? Terrible show. Absolutely terrible show. How many people watched it? That's, if you are not getting at least 5 million people to watch your product on a weekly basis in broadcast television, you barely exist. And you're certainly not worth that kind of financial investment. Credit to everyone involved. Again, I'm glad for things like Kickstarter. It gives passionate fandoms, and it gives some of these other intellectual properties the ability to find revenue and to find outlets that they wouldn't otherwise. It takes some of the financial burden and some of the risk off of, a network, a television studio that, greenlights 8 projects a year, one of which takes off, and they're just out all the money they spent on on all the other stuff they produced. That's money that just goes away, guys. So I'm glad about things like this, but you do need to understand, again, somehow how the niche product works, and unfortunately that does also lead to, Mark, you brought up an interesting point about how it's one of the worst feelings in the world to have, gone through life as feeling isolated, and then finally find people that you have common interests with, and you can kind of share those, and you can get together, and it's all great. And then to have that turn sour on you, and that is an absolutely terrible thing. I also would be remiss not to mention the number of fandoms, and this crosses sports, this crosses television, movies, whatever. There's a significant number of those fans who, for some reason, don't want greater success for their property. They don't want more people to know about it. It's mine. You don't get to have it. Which is one of the most bizarre things that I've encountered in fandoms, like you clearly you don't want success for your property. You don't want millions of people to know about this.
No, it's essentially like the possessive boyfriend issue, or maybe even possessive girlfriend. It's
possessive part.
Yeah, it's just they are abusive, they are controlling, they are mean, they can sometimes be violent, and it's all in the spirit of keeping this person, like Rapunzel in the high tower away from everybody else because they want them for themselves. It's an utterly selfish behavior.
If I let other people enjoy you, you may change to suit them instead of me. It's that kind of thing. I don't want other people to enjoy you because right now you're exactly what I want, and I want you to stay that way.
So,
and Robert, I'm sorry. Are you comfortable in saying what that Kickstarter was? Because I think.
Sure. Again, I don't bring it up a lot because I don't want to get into it with people. Like I just don't like. I don't like discussing my fandoms with other people generally. Right. And let me be clear about this. I'm not one of those people pining to discuss the nuance of Star Wars with someone else, and I don't mean that as an insult. I know there are those people out there. I'm perfectly content to enjoy my fandoms with myself. But no, that was the Critical Role Kickstarter for the Vox Machina animated series.
Yeah.
Were those words you just said?
Yes.
They were very good words because I know exactly what he's talking about because I was not able to back that either, but I'm very glad that they did because I watched Critical Role almost
it's up right now and I have the closed captions running, so I'm watching it as we're doing this.
Right. So I'm going back through I have to catch up on campaign 2, but I'm watching campaign 1 as well. But for the ones who don't know, Critical Role is it's a Twitch show where
it's a Twitch stream of a bunch of voice actors playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
That's literally all it is. There's no special effects, not really. It's a well-produced show, but it's 6, occasionally 7 of the voice actors. We are missing Laura tonight, actually. They're DM'd by another voice actor, and it's just Matt Mercer, and it's just them playing in Matt's homebrew world. They literally just play Dungeons and Dragons, but because they're all theater-trained voice actors, they can present it in a very engaging fashion more so. And I mean, I watch other people play D&D because it amuses me, and they just do it in a very, very fan-friendly, viewer-friendly manner.
Right. I actually recently took up DMing. I actually on a weekly basis I run Dungeons and Dragons games at my local game store.
I run for my family on occasion.
And then so a bunch of my friends started getting interested who had never played tabletop role-playing games before or had toyed with it, so I run for them as well. And actually Matt Mercer is one of my influences. Then I got into Chris Perkins, and
I refer to my DMing style as a cheap Matthew Mercer knockoff for a reason.
Yeah, same here. I go with Mercer, Perkins, Koval.
Koval's good. I like Koval's style.
Phoenix, and TJ Storm. And so,
I do not have the confidence to pull off TJ Storm's style of DMing. I just don't.
I don't. I feel like it's sorry.
Let me mark.
Mark's about to jump in and go nerd.
Now, let me
Hulk out.
Let me take this back to the show real quick and just ask you boys. You guys have now found each other as fans of the same product. What could potentially change so much that what could these creators potentially change so much that you two would decide to go to change.org and create a petition?
Okay, I would never go to change.org for anything.
All right.
Hypothetically.
Look, I can tell you I would never do that. It's their game. Like if if it stops being enjoyable to me, I will stop watching. That's the end of it.
There you go. That's
it's not that complicated, people.
Perfect.
Those are the same exact sentiments. Because if it starts,
They do things that annoy me. There's occasional episodes that aren't great. They know it. There's characters they have that bother me. Fine. Yeah. There's other characters that are okay. In the interest, how far are you into campaign 2? I have a question about this, just because there's a few different points of quasi contention within the fandom, and I'm curious if we fall on the opposite side of this one. How far are you into campaign 2?
Get a private room, you two, and discuss it. Okay.
Well, hey, Mark, this is my show.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, damn.
Let Robert ask his question. I couldn't tell you the number of the show right now, but
okay. Who's Talison's character where you are?
It's Caduceus.
Okay. How do you feel about Molly?
I liked Molly.
Okay. Yeah, you and I are on opposite sides of that.
I like Molly as a character. I don't like what people were trying to make him stand for.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. You and I are on the same side of that equation. There's a reason that, every time people throw up kind of the long may he reign stuff, my response is now becoming long may he rot. Like I didn't dislike him. He had strong characterization, but he was utterly uninteresting.
Well, I mean, I just like Taliesin as a player.
Talison's awesome.
Yeah. And you could not find a human being that's more opposite than I.
Taliesin would be pretty far on the extreme end of away from you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that uncharitably.
Oh, no. And I get that. But the thing about it is, this is where this relays back into toxic. I know that he is different, and I know from, in beliefs and in politics and everything else, but I want to hang out with him because he just seems like a genuinely nice person. And I enjoyed the way he played this game. I enjoyed the character that he created. I do not like fans trying to make him stand for something. Whereas I don't think Taliesin really created this character. Taliesin Jaffe is the actor. You may know him from his role in Mr. Mom. He was the kid that carried the whoopee around. If you've ever watched Mr. Mom, but
that was 100 years ago.
You're 100 years ago.
Well, no, Taliesin was around 100 years ago. Legit, like that man's older than time. Sorry, bad joke.
But it's one of those things where, like, I genuinely want to hang. I would want to hang out with this guy because he seems like a cool person, and we're into the same game. The politics and all this other stuff, just be damned, because I don't have to agree with you to like you.
True. And seriously, thank you for saying that, because it's so true, and too many people just ignore that point of reality at the moment.
I don't have to agree with everything that you like to like you. It goes down to politics. It goes down to what you're a fan of. It goes down to everything. I don't have to agree with you and I'll go even this far, I don't have to agree with you to love you. I love people. I want people to succeed and be happy.
You just described the foundation of my marriage.
Because I don't agree with you does not make me a demon. And because you don't agree with me does not make you a demon. It means that we are different people who stand fast on different beliefs and different likes and different dislikes. And it just comes down to a selfish, me-first generation that will not back down from what they want to listen to others.
But, I'm wondering of how much of the selfishness and entitlement that pervades the current the current mass psyche of this country and maybe around the world was always really there and in equal numbers. We just didn't have the internet to connect us and form virtual mobs.
I think you're very much correct in that assessment, Mark, I believe.
I did write a note while I was researching this. Does social media create mob mentality?
Yes.
No.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. It does not create it. It simply provides an extraordinarily accessible, very convenient platform to get it going. Again, mobs existed prior to social media.
The internet is the new gay club. Okay? Now, you hear that and you're like, where's he going with this? Give me a second.
I never think that.
So, so for a lot of people who were closeted homosexuals, when they found like the bar or the club, the nightlife where they could find others like them, it created a community, it created a connectedness.
The holy crap, I'm not alone syndrome. Yeah,
right. Wherever in their regular lives, in their regular worlds, a lot of them had to keep it to themselves for fear of being, thrown out of their homes. You want to talk about really bully, to be, people coming after them, etc. Losing jobs, any number of things that happened to the homosexuals. These things they had to keep it to themselves, and so they had to find places. Like in the underbelly of society, where they could find others like them and actually be themselves. The internet is just the worldwide phenomena gay club, with a lot of different with a long tail of rooms for people to find like-minded folks like themselves, and it does create. Create is the wrong word. It fosters the mob mentality. Yeah. Before we go any further, so we had a chat going leading up to this show, just kind of a place for us to kick around some ideas, throw topics in case we God forbid we ran out of shit to talk about tonight. So this was sort of a dumping ground for some articles. I just want to share these with people. This is what we were kicking around prior to the podcast. This from Insider.com. See, I can read off the internet too, Jesse.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but do you have the list?
This is technically a list. Making Daenerys a mad queen on Game of Thrones is the culmination of every demeaning sexist trope over the show's 8 seasons. This is my favorite thing about our current culture is the identity politics and virtue signaling that goes into fictional television and movies. That it can't just be. Captain Marvel can't just be a character. It has to be, Wonder Woman.
The
can't
biggest
just be a character.
glowing Mary Sue in the world.
Has to be a feminist icon. Anything short of 100% progressive femininity is a failure to women across the board.
If you want another example, Mark, one of the reviews we tore apart the other night when talking about Men in Black International. For some reason, apparently, Men in Black International is pseudo-feminism. Like, that was actually one of the complaints levied at it because Tessa Thompson wasn't more of a Mary Sue, I guess. I don't know. It's the dumbest complaint you could have levied at that movie.
Here's another fun one. Game of Thrones fans can claim $130 in compensation if someone ruins the final episode with spoilers. Get 'em, Winfrey.
I don't know who's going to pay that out, but okay.
When Game of Thrones ended, and admittedly I was not too thrilled with the ending myself, I sat back and went, okay, the new Watchmen series coming out, and they just released a trailer for an adaptation of His Dark Materials. Ooh, that looks good. Moving on.
We talked about this already, multiple petitions to replace Robert Pattinson as Batman. In a world where everybody who has played Batman has been criticized, and most of them were good anyway, except for George Clooney.
Well, I will say in Clooney's defense, he had absolutely the weakest material to work with.
Oh, absolutely.
I hate to say it, George Clooney basically went in there and he was told, just be yourself. He was not...
Look, Joel Schumacher is not a director.
But in all fairness, Schumacher has come out and apologized for those films. And there was a lot of pressure from the studios after the Batman Returns backlash to make the movies a lot more kid-friendly.
Well, look, Batman Returns, of course there's backlash around it. You told Tim Burton, Tim Burton is an incredibly divisive filmmaker anyway. When you give him carte blanche over an established IP, yeah, it went in a weird direction. You shouldn't be surprised.
Game of Thrones is ending, and this website will help you find a counselor to deal with it. This is why the Red Chinese are going to win, by the way.
Yeah, look, that is a mentally strong people. We're out here whining about the ending of Game of Thrones and how we need counselors for it. What the hell, man? There's a reason you out there, and I'll include myself in this because I believe this is true of me as well. You ain't the man your grandfather was. Let's try to fix that.
So here's one for all the women and gay women hating people. Batwoman trailer hit by comment bombing. Downvoting on YouTube.
I haven't seen the trailer, and look, this is one of those things that I think you touched on this a little bit, that there's a bunch of people that might point out something is terrible, and then for some reason, any overly hateful individual who can tie into it will jump on that bandwagon.
I watched it. I was mostly just impressed how much it seemed to tie back to the Batwoman elegy comic we read.
So this is my other favorite thing that's going on in the world right now. Sorry, Game of Thrones haters. Entitled man babies don't get to decide how a series ends. Look, we've been super critical.
But screaming feminists do, apparently.
We've been super critical about how people handle things and fandoms and whatnot tonight. That's kind of the purpose of the podcast. But I do love it that
in all seriousness,
a voice criticism out there, and the criticism of that criticism is immediately talking down about someone's gender or sexuality or whatever. It's like I have an opinion, yes, but you're a man, so fuck off. All right.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, seriously, the first article you quoted was, yeah, this is overly sexist, and now apparently screaming man babies don't get an opinion. Don't get me wrong, a screaming man baby is a deeply, deeply annoying thing.
Yes.
But there's no reason. But no, they don't get to dictate anything. But that doesn't diminish. And again, I will mock them up and down for saying some of the crappy stuff they say. That doesn't diminish the fact that they should be allowed to say it, and that, again, you don't have to go out of your way to pretend that it's only screaming man babies that were upset with the ending of Game of Thrones. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it wasn't.
My wife and I refer to something as the controversy of the week. And, it's whatever stupid thing is happening in pop culture right now that's got everybody up in arms. And, she and I will usually talk about it. We mostly agree on these things. Sometimes we'll have a debate amongst ourselves. But my favorite one recently was the Wonder Woman poster, where people were like,
"Oh yeah, that."
I'm angry at the people who created the Wonder Woman poster because color.
It's set isn't it deliberately set in the 80s?
Yes.
It's called Wonder Woman 1984 for a reason.
Guys, I hate to break it to you, that was the color scheme in the 80s. You're going to have to live with it.
And then,
they're also bitching about her armor. Didn't Wonder Woman wear gold armor in the 80s versions of the comics?
Who the fuck knows or cares?
I mean, and this is kind of the thing about this, when you say, well, didn't she wear
Wait
gold
a minute.
armor?
I have news for everybody. Wonder Woman's not a real person.
Thank you.
None of these fandoms are real. That's the whole point of this discussion tonight.
It's news. Damn it!
Luke Skywalker isn't real, and yet that hasn't stopped everyone from wanting to play. Daenerys Targaryen isn't real.
But I named my child after her.
I named my child Khaleesi. All right, Ronnie.
Your problem.
That sounds like a personal problem.
Actually, Jesse, you've been quiet for a while. We've kind of dumped a lot out there. Robert took us on this weird, I don't know, watching Twitch people playing D&D thing for a little bit.
Mark, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not valid.
No, fuck them and everything they stand for, okay?
There we go.
Nice, and they have a good time. I imagine we're probably coming to the end of this show, so I'll go ahead and kind of throw this out here about the Game of Thrones.
I'll tell you when we're going to end.
We're
coming close.
No, I do not want to get the ire of Ronnie Adams and have him yell at me, "This is my show, damn it." Now,
hasn't he already yelled that at Mark once?
Yeah,
multiple times in my head.
Don't need him yelling at me.
Stop managing the discussion, Radulich. This is my show that you invited me on.
The Game of Thrones. I've never watched an episode of Game of Thrones, but you know what? I understand Mark's opinion. I understand Alexis's opinion, and I've heard other opinions about the show, the episodes, and especially how the show ended. Now, at the place that I work, a friend of mine, me and him talk TV all the time. What shows we're watching, what stuff we really enjoy. He just started Game of Thrones probably about a month ago. All right, and that's kind of his thing. Once the show is about ready to end, he's going to start it because he wants to be able to enjoy all of it and binge all of it.
There's some logic to that.
I do that a lot. Like, if there's a season of television that I'm enjoying, like, okay, I'm just not going to watch. I'm going to wait for it all to be done. Then I'm going to spend 13 hours and just go all the way through it.
That's how he looks at it. So he's telling me, hey, I'm at season 5. I'm like, oh, great. I said, well, I hope you're enjoying it. But, man, let me know what you think when you get to, like, season 7 and season 8. From what I understand, things are going to get ratcheted up pretty good, and then I want to hear what you think of the finale. So yesterday he comes in and he says, I did it. I'm done. I finished it. And I said, all right. Now, I had been telling him up until that point, I haven't heard the greatest stuff about the finale. And he looks at me and he says, I don't understand what the problem is. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because he is probably one of the least plugged in people that I know to social media and things like that. So it's really
probably a lot happier than we are.
Exactly.
No kidding.
That point that I'm trying to make is the fact that he come out of there and he enjoyed what he saw, and even though now, granted, I wasn't shoving it down his throat. Oh man, you're going to hate the ending because hell, I didn't know exactly what happened. I don't know what a Tanagothrian is or whatever the hell the names are. There's the crazy Rock
Gothrian? Is that what you just said?
Thanagurians? No, wait a second. That's
Hawk people.
That's Hawkman. Doc Rathy. Anyway.
Please stop.
Okay.
No, I want 2 more.
Keep going.
Tell me what.
This
give
is
me your
worse
version
than
of the country that it's set in.
This is the worst. This is worse than the Metal Hammer of Doom trying to pronounce European names. Please stop.
God.
Bad. But anyway, he was able to enjoy himself. He was able to actually sit down, watch he didn't have any complaints. The man did not have any complaints. So, and I sit there and think to myself, one of the comments that I saw tonight on a video about...
Oh my gosh, what is happening? Someone's being attacked by a clown.
Somebody that got...
Eddie's got his chew toy.
Got a squeaky toy.
Sorry, guys, you know how this goes. He's either barking or he's squeaking. Take your pick.
That's all right.
I haven't been around.
He had told me that he had told me he had enjoyed the ending, but that one comment that I saw on that video about toxic fandom was like, in short, stay off Twitter. Because really that's all that matters. If you avoid social media, you're probably going to enjoy things a lot more, and you're going to be a lot less riled up. So, I can't agree with that more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Social media. Squeaky squeak.
I'm sorry. He's following. I tried going to another side of the room. He followed me with the toy.
No, you must hear the squeak. I'm not sure it's actually squeaking if there's not third-party verification.
That microphone is fantastic. It's just not doing anything.
This is why I suggested the new logo for Radulich Broadcasting is Eddie with a microphone.
Yeah. I told you, go for it.
I'm planning on it.
Look, a microphone that's in front of a loudspeaker. or a bullhorn.
Sorry, I've been trying hard to make sure you guys don't hear me breathing into the stupid thing.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, there's my final thoughts on the whole thing, Ronnie Adams. Pitch to whoever else you want to there.
Your final thought was stay off social media, squeak?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Couldn't put it any better. Quote
Final
that shit,
thought.
put it on
Stay
Facebook.
off social media. Dear God, the clown is stabbing me.
For the record, it's not a clown. It's actually a stuffed candy cane that we got him over Christmas. That I'm surprised he hasn't completely eviscerated yet.
He's working on it.
Yeah, actually is. I see at least 2 holes where stuffing's coming out. You want this, pal? Go get it.
I pay extra for tough toys for my dog. 2 days.
I tried. He doesn't like tough toys. He's not interested in it. He likes soft toys with squeakers that he can rip to shreds.
He's got to get the squeaker out. My dog's the same way. Like, she just will find the squeaker and okay, there it is. I squeak it a few times and then I just tear into this thing until I can get it out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
final thoughts, Alexis, go for it. Tell us. Educate us.
Honestly, I don't know what we can do to ease the idea of the toxic fandoms. I know that we as a society love to complain. I know that we as fans feel a deep-seated connection with what we love. And when things do not go the way we want them to, we throw little bitch fits. I honestly don't know of a way right now other than, stay the hell off of Twitter.
It helps.
But unfortunately, as someone like me who is reliant on social media for my work, I don't have that luxury.
Wait, now you are in business for yourself, and you're a salesperson, but you have to go to these conventions where many of the people are just lovely people, but as you said earlier, a lot of them are horrid. And you have to try to sell them jewelry. How do you get past that? Like, you see somebody who's coming and looking at your stuff, and they say something, like, "Oh, Maria Tran should die," and then and then you still have to sell them a bracelet. Like, how do you handle that?
Well, I have more than Star Wars bracelets. I say, okay, putting that one away. How do you like Rick and Morty? Okay. And for the record, Rick and Morty fans, I think, are actually some of the ones who really push the toxic fandom in the wrong direction. I swear to God, that
it got so bad that Rick and Morty actually has a bit where they mock their own fans for being the worst.
I just remember going online during.
Sauce.
Yeah, I remember going online going, have any of you guys actually Googled Szechuan sauce recipe? Because it's not that hard to make. It's not. I love to cook, but that's a fairly easy recipe. Just go get a handful of ingredients, mix together, shake, refrigerate for an hour, boom, done. Szechuan sauce. Not that hard.
If I am stranded on a desert island and I have one show, it's Rick and Morty.
Well, you're wrong. It's The Wire.
Oh,
jeez. Mark.
You're part of the problem, Mark.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I hate to alienate. We've already alienated half of our podcast. Here comes me to alienate the other half. I don't like Rick and Morty.
Neither do
Fair
I.
enough.
You're not allowed to have an opinion.
Hold on. Alexis doesn't surprise me with that. Mark, that kind of does. But, I don't know. I suppose satire isn't your thing.
I don't think Mark has invested enough time to actually make an educated decision, but that's just my opinion.
No, see,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a single episode.
Our nightly routine.
I think the jokes are overdone, and I think the animation is ugly. It is not a pleasant show to look at.
I will say a big I have two problems with Rick and Morty. One is I really don't like the animation. Outside of Rankin Bass, I just think it's the grossest thing I've ever seen.
Unicorn!
Unicorn!
Oh, man. Do I have a... Ooh. Wait. I mean this in all seriousness. I'm debating pointing Mark at I think it's a 13-episode single-season anime that would just make his eyes bleed. And then if he actually sticks with it long enough to engage with the story, will destroy his soul.
Oh, God, which one?
Devilman Crybaby.
Oh, no.
Oh, Lord.
Which I love.
No.
I have
love
no
that
idea.
show.
I think you've tried to pitch that at me before. As a matter
I
of
have,
fact.
but then I hear you just completely whine about. Look, you whine about like traditional animation the way I whine about CGI. The primary difference being, animation can be used to different artistic realities deliberately, whereas bad CGI is just bad CGI.
So they ruined my wife's nightly television viewing routine. Like, she can't go to sleep without the TV on, and so she would put on Adult Swim, and they would have American Dad, and they would have Family Guy, and Family Guy usually went into Robot Chicken. Then they moved. Then they got rid of, I think, King of the Hill. They moved up Family Guy, and then the following Family Guy is now Rick and Morty. I don't even want to watch Cartoon Network anymore because of that. How do you like that? How do you like them apples?
You're gonna go to change.org and sign a petition for your local television network to alter the order in which they air properties based around your wife's specific sleep needs.
I'm gonna go to change.org to sign a petition to change your mama. All right.
That wouldn't work.
Really,
We got a
Mark?
million signatures.
It's a little more complicated than that, Mark.
Hey, Ronnie, why don't you take us home, baby doll?
Well, you and Robert haven't given your last thoughts, but I can do that.
Haven't Robert and I talked enough tonight?
Yeah, maybe.
Wow, you changed your name to Wishy or Washy there.
It's been a while.
It's okay. I'm just giving you grief.
I know. You and I have found something that we both enjoy, and if anything has come from that, you and I have bonded on that level, and I appreciate that. So, so stupid.
Welcome back to podcast, Ronnie Adams. We'll never hear.
Anyway, guys, I guess when it comes down to it, whenever I DM at the shop that I DM at, there's one rule that basically it's the rule. You
Don't bring your girlfriend to just sit and watch.
Never split the party.
No,
well,
always split the party and view, and the peanut gallery is fine so long as they don't talk.
Right.
That was a song reference, dude.
The actual rule.
Never split the party is the D&D version of trying to say shibboleth.
The actual rule I was talking about was don't be a dick. That's
a good
the
rule.
base. And that's the rule that I've found that is at a lot of different tables. That's the rule you should live by when it comes to sharing the internet with other people, or sharing fandoms, or just being a person. Guys, life's too short to just piss and moan about everything. If you like something, what?
If I may, Ronnie, don't yell at me.
Not so nice, is it, Mark?
So, shut up, asshole. Speaking of which,
Don't be a dick and don't take our example. Do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah.
So Jesse knows what I'm talking about here. Jesse knows that my humor can be a bit blue. I have been described by a fan of the show and now one of our fellow podcasters, Chris Bailey, as the human embodiment of a kick in the dick.
Oh my God, that's accurate.
Sorry, Mark, you just said it so bluntly. I love it.
And I wear that with a badge of honor.
I was going to say I love you, Mark, but I mean, come on.
I am introducing you that way on the next Damn You Hollywood.
Human embodiment. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Well, Ronnie, having done a few podcasts with me, knows that I can be a bit over the top, a bit abrasive. Jesse knows, my sense of humor. We have been called out, and I wear this also with a badge of honor for working blue on podcasts before. Making fun of accents, making fun of other cultures, but I think those that know me as a person know that this is all done in good fun. I take it as well as I give it. Dude, I make fun of my own having cancer.
True,
I just take it
Makes
all
me
on
entirely too uncomfortable.
you and everybody else. It's kind of why I do it.
I don't care.
Yeah, you cheer for it. But yeah,
on occasion.
God!
But the point that I'm getting at is. And I wanted to make this thing because I've been thinking about this the whole time. It's like, there's got to be somebody listening to this who's heard the Metal Hammer of Doom and gone, really? The asshole who made fun of the poor Japanese girl's accent is going to talk about toxic fandoms? What a dick. And you're not wrong. But here's the thing. I'm joking. And it's done to crack Jesse up. It's done to crack up the listeners. It's done because... It's done because... And I go back to the old Mel Brooks school of comedy. Don't treat anybody special. I tone down. Sometimes when Alexa's on, I tone it down somewhat because I don't know where the line is with her. We've only just been doing this a few months. But for the rest of you fuckers, I've been doing this long enough that I know where the line is and I know how far I can go.
Wait, didn't I tell you on the last show I did? I will not stand for the whole mansplaining bullshit. I don't believe in being treated special because I'm a woman.
No, I don't.
It's not because. Hang on. It's not because you're a woman. It's because you're. He like you said, he just doesn't know where the line is with you yet.
Yeah,
He'll find it, and then he will
cross it, and then I'll stop.
He will. He will like build a condo on the line. And just live there.
More of a watchtower, but
and hold dances every night.
But the point
Cross
of this,
that line.
The point of this is that I use humor to poke fun at things that are that are silly and are over the top, and we're living in this really we've used. This goes back to what we were saying. How do you define toxic fandom? We've already talked about selfishness. We've talked about entitlement. The other part is sensitivity. We mentioned this before with you can have counseling because you didn't like Game of Thrones or whatever. Is the amount of people who are so sensitive and so overly sensitive they can't take any kind of mocking. Gentle mocking is not wrong, and I'm never going to apologize for it. This whole network doesn't apologize for mocking of things that need to be mocked. It's part of the
I don't
reason
apologize for mocking things that don't need to be mocked.
No, but the point that I'm trying to make here is that there's a distinction between being toxic and being squeaky.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That was well timed, Eddie. Bravo.
See, Eddie is mocking me, and it's fine. No,
I keep trying to move to a different part of the house, and he follows me with that fucking toy.
He's mocking you as well.
Yeah.
No, I think the message that people should take from this, if nothing else, is that we could all use a little bit more, to be a little less sensitive, and sort of a little bit more accepting that criticism is okay, mocking is okay. It's the utterly tearing things down to with the purpose of causing harm that I think we're trying to make a point out of and take a look at tonight. What do you think, Ronnie?
I mean, fair enough. But did you have to salt the earth?
I know that's a Simpsons quote.
Very good, Jesse.
Thank you very much.
And with that, Ronnie,
Jesse briefly turned into Captain America.
I did.
And with that, Ronnie, I kick it back to you. I'm done.
Guys, I really appreciate it. I think we've had some really good, a really good discussion. Some things that need to be said, and some things that, remarks here, so it probably shouldn't have been said. But this was a heck of a way to come back. Even if it is maybe just for one show, who knows? I don't know, but I appreciate you guys, and I think it all comes down to. Be it sensitivity, be it whatever, just like what you like. You're a fan for a reason, and don't be a dick. With that, I'm going to say, guys, there are a lot of people on here, and we want to plug a lot of stuff.
Ugh.
I will say that just go subscribe to the Radulich Broadcasting Network
on Podcoin. Just Podcoin. Only plug Podcoin.
Okay, see, this is actually why you and I need to talk, because if I'm going to design flyers for the show, I need to know what web address you want me to direct people to.
Podcoin.
What is Podcoin?
Jesse?
Oh, God. Why? Don't. You had to ask. Oh.
Off air, what is Podcoin?
Tell him, Jesse.
Go ahead. You have the copy right in front of you, I'm sure.
No, I want Jesse to do it.
Oh, my God. I can tell you right now, you can get paid to listen to podcasts. That's right. The Radulich in Broadcasting Network is on Podcoin right now. You can go subscribe, and if you're out there say you're mowing the lawn, you're listening to a podcast while you're doing that, why don't you get paid while you're doing it? The Radulich in Broadcasting Network completely and utterly would love your support and would love to support you on Podcoin. Check it out. Podcoin. Right, Mark?
Podcoin. Podcoin.
All chills just happened. Oh, word.
Go to your app store, type it in, check it out, download it. There you go.
That was incredible. Dusty. Gosh, I need to get you into commercials.
I turned it on, buddy.
Yes, you. Wow, that was beautiful. I'm going to be a little selfish right now, and I'm going to shill something. I'm going to do a little bit of what do we do? Plugs. I'm going to plug something, and it is the fact that Screaming Boy podcast is not dead. We
I've
haven't
heard that before.
I hate you.
Tell them it's your show again, Ronnie.
It's my show. Stop
There you
it.
go. Tell them to shut up.
It's not dead, but it's not the same. I loved having this show. I loved doing it. It's going to be more of a special occasion thing, I think, more than anything. But I will tell you this, that we have been slowly, when I say we, I mean me, I have been slowly transitioning into more of a, I know we talked about it a little bit tonight, but it's not because I'm trying to rip off anybody else or anything like that. It's just something I sincerely enjoy doing. I'm starting a D&D actual play stream. We'll probably load it up to podcast as well. But it's been so much fun. I've met a lot of really cool people doing it. So we've gone to from the podcast format to this. I will, as far as I think the only thing that I've really changed right now is Instagram. But I'll still be doing Screaming Boy stuff, but Instagram is now named the Dungeon Crawl Stream, which is what we're going to be calling this. And I've got a group of people that I'm taking through a module called the Curse of Strahd, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice choice.
Thank you. And then we're probably going to move on to a little bit of a homebrew that I've been working on, based around. I say it's homebrew, but it's going to have a lot of Ghosts of Saltmarsh in it. And if you don't know what these things are, it's all just Dungeons and Dragons modules, these stories that you can, that just very open-ended things that you can create your own stories. And it's a lot of fun. And man, I am having a blast doing this with these people. And so I kind of want to share that with others. So once we get up and running, we're going to have a lot of social media push around it. So, social media, we're going to use it. And people just being silly, some decent storytelling, things like that. You may want to check it out. Right now, we don't have the best surroundings to record in because we're in a public place that has a lot of other things going on in it. But once I get a few more microphones and stuff like that, it'll be better. A lot of Magic the Gathering and other, another D&D game and stuff like that is going around this. It's actually pretty fascinating to watch. But so guys, if you see it, check it out. If you like it, subscribe, follow, whatever you want to do. Even if you don't like it, just go ahead and do it anyway. Because I want to do this professionally one day. But not really. Kind of, yes. But Screaming Boy has been so much fun, and I've met so many people doing this podcast thing, and friendships that I will take to to the ends of the earth. I would do anything for any one of these people that are on here now, including you, Winfrey. So. But it's not done, and it's not goodbye. It's just, hey, just a little bit, you'll be seeing me less. I don't know how you could see me any less than you have in the past months. But yeah, I'll be around. But a big thank you to Mark, to Jesse, and to everybody that's listened, everybody that's been on, and everybody that's helped. You guys are incredible and wonderful, and I could not ask for a better group of people and a better group of friends. With that, we're going to say Screaming Boy Podcast on Radulich and Broadcast Network, on iTunes, TuneIn. What's the other one I'm on? Yeah, all those other things you can download podcasts on. We've submitted to all of them. Go back and check all of our older shows. Mark, Jesse, Adam. Gosh, we've had a plethora of people on there, and it has been some really good shows and some good times. Keep on listening. You'll hear from me again. And guys, thank you all so much for tonight. It has been so much fun, and it's felt so good to be on here and to hang out with you all. Anybody else? Mark, you want to take us on out of here?
Quick, Alexis, real quick, just plug your shop.
Might as well. Eddie's finally done with the squeaky toy.
So we start talking again.
Yeah. No, oh no! Now he's going to start barking. Thank you, Eddie. Come here, stupid dog. Honeysuckle. Yeah, he is. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, purveyors of handmade jewelry, the intersection of geek and chic. We just wrapped up a show in Austin, Texas. Really great time out there. I actually got to watch Ray Park do a demonstration of stunt fighting. It was awesome.
Nice.
Ray Park is awesome.
Yes, he is. He is so cool. Anyway, our next show, we're going to be at Tokyo and Tulsa. That is mid-July, so I get to go back to making all of the things. So you can find us. We've got stores on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon, and you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Like I said earlier, I don't get to escape social media, no matter how hard I try.
Just properly curate the experience. You'll be fine. The block button is a good thing.
Oh, tell me about it. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, intersection of geek and chic.
All right, folks, for Ronnie Adams, for Alexis Hayner, for Jesse Starcher, for Robert Winfrey, and myself, what a dick. Be well, be safe, and behave.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.375%. APR 4.65%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 2.13% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
At Farmers Insurance, we have concrete evidence that parking under an industrial cement mixer, that's just asking for trouble. Seen it, covered it. Click for more.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.